Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world or whenever you listen to this video, DeFi, IoT. I want to talk today about what the future holds or the outlook holds with the global elites in the aspect of digital currencies and more specifically cryptocurrencies, i.e. Bitcoin. The World Economic Forum had a meeting the last couple weeks in Davos, Switzerland, and there were crypto councils there. And I want to explain a little bit what took place and how they're treating cryptocurrency right now and what this might mean for us and where we might want to consider buying over long term, knowing where the global elites are looking. Let's talk about that right now. So as you know, the World Economic Forum, the WEF, they basically are the policymakers of the world now. They've self-elected themselves. I've got other videos that talk about the World Economic Forum. There's a recent video done by Coin Bureau guy. I highly recommend you watch their videos. Very, very informative videos. I just try to I research with Coin Bureau and many others. I do my research in as well as different studies, different books, and so forth. But I like to listen to these guys like on a daily basis and try to get a real grasp of what's going on out there. I think I'm going to do a video as well on what sources I also listen to that I think maybe I had a whole bunch, but maybe if I can narrow it down to maybe the top 10 sources of information that you might be able to find, not just economically, not just in crypto, but politically. The reason politically is because the policymakers, and that's politics really, really governs the rest, right? So let's talk about the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab, who founded this in the 1970s, 1971, I believe. In the 1990s, it really started getting power, like we talked about before. And really, over the last, they came out with the whole 2030 agenda that you will own nothing and you'll be happy. That's the whole agenda to to centralize private property, right? To actually cause de-ownership of private property and centralized private property. And that's the reason we're seeing the supply chain issues and so forth right now. I mean, yes, it comes from the recent lockdowns we had, but there's who issued those lockdowns, right? And all the evidence is tied together. Now, Michael Moss is really good at explaining a lot of these as well. So you have this World Economic Forum. Seems like every time I do a video, I come outside where it's peace and quiet, and some raspy truck drives by with a bad muffler. And I'm up here in the mountains. We used to have this traffic only on the weekends, but that's why it's time to leave where I'm at and go elsewhere, because of what's coming up here is not pro decentralization. It's very centralized, and people who pro-centralization all work for these companies such as Amazon, Twitter, etc. They're all coming up here now and buying all this land around us here. So that's why we are going to sell this project and move ourselves to a state where we can still have our traditional peace of mind and peace and quiet. What happened at the World Economic Forum? I'm ranting. I do that often. Listen, Klaus Schwab learned early on. He was trained well. Or not well, trained in how to become powerful. And there is rumor out there, and I've actually looked at this, all the names are the same, but that Klaus Schwab has relation, I'm not even going to go there, I'm just going to say this in brief, that has relation. His grandfather was somebody who believed in Rockefeller, okay, who believed in centralization and controlling everything. Now, you've had Routers, you've had others come out and debunk these things. But then I've also learned that Routers is also in the bed with supporting the whole agenda of like this World Economic Forum and those that carry out the policing powers for the policymakers, right? And the policymakers are the World Economic Forum, with others. Then you have those that have and they basically just consist of people that are just politicians and businessmen all coming together. Now, in brief, I just want to say this. They had panels there about cryptocurrencies. And, backing up a little bit, digressing a little bit here, Klaus Schwab learned early on that if you control the food, you control the people. You control energy sources. Energy, right? Oil, electricity, natural gases. You control the nations. You control the currency. You control the world. And that's kind of breaking it down in more simplistic understanding. And so at this forum, this meeting, those three topics were all being discussed, as they always are. And so cryptocurrency came into this, right? We understand now we're in a food crisis, and we understand these sanctions. Everything's just playing out to collapse the food. So the food can be then controlled and distributed. You drive up inflation, and you put all these other aspects in. You cut off the energy, the oil, right? The fracking and so forth. You control natural gases. This sanctions going on with Russia right now are helping to control and restrict oil. Wheat, you've had a bad crop in the United States this year. You've got, 30% of the world's supply of wheat coming from Russia and Ukraine, not coming out right now. So you had food crisis, you have energy crisis, and you have Russia, for example, not been using the dollar for a long time. You've got Saudi Arabia, who's supposed to support the whole petrodollar idea, is accepting other currencies other than the dollar now for oil. And you've got other countries that are not wanting to use the dollar, including China, using the yuan now to buy and sell oil. So you have a whole shift now. About every 80 years or so, you have this economic shift in monetary policy to a currency. And they're trying to go with these CDBCs, these central bank digital currencies, right? And they're basically digital currencies, and they're very different than cryptocurrencies. And so that topic came up at the World Economic Forum. Just in summary, here's this. The panelists actually were more pro-crypto, but a centralized pro-crypto in this World Economic Forum than they had been in the past. They did announce, though, that there will be no more crypto panels going forward. I think it was too pro-crypto because the audience wasn't that crypto. Those who they invited to talk and be panelists were very pro-crypto. And there were some that were anti. And especially, Coin Bureau is very, very good and very reliable. No agenda, just to try to give you the honest truth about what's happening out there. Somebody would say, "Wow, that's more to conservative agenda because he kind of spoofs on those that are against cryptocurrency." Well, he spoofs on the fact of the absurdity of against cryptocurrencies, right? The guy does. Then you have CoinDesk, who touts themselves to be this like the Wall Street Journal of the crypto world, and they're really not. They're really in bed with the World Economic Forum. And I suspected that a long time ago. And I started thinking, well, you know what? They're not very pro-crypto. They're actually kind of like, subtly just like bringing it down, putting down crypto. I would see them undermining crypto. So, in summary, there actually was thought that they want to do this digital currency, but they also realize that people will not willingly accept a digital currency because it's too controlled. There's no privacy whatsoever. And there's this huge emphasis in wanting to control the metaverse, and everything takes place in the metaverse, and actually not allow us to get into the metaverse without their permission. That's what the World Economic Forum is trying to establish now, as well as trackers for carbon trackers, what we eat, where we go, we travel, that can restrict us now once we maximize our movement, then we're restricted, and now it comes into the currency. Bitcoin was actually being looked at as a plausible way, or a means by which they can have control of the currencies or a currency. And that actually, to me, is concerning because they believe in stakeholder capitalism. Okay, it's not really capitalism at all. They just put the word capitalism out there because it's capital, and it's capital being distributed, but it's stakeholder capital that's being distributed. So that's stakeholder capitalism. In other words, they're the stakeholders. They hold all the stakes, and we are just the ants, the peons, that get distributed to us for carrying out the agendas, right? Especially the environmental agendas. And they're really going to do come out with some draconian laws to force us, as small businesses, to to comply with the environmental conditions or regulations, which, okay, good, we need to be responsible, but this has an agenda to us, and we need to be careful of that. All this in mind, we go back to food is going to be controlled now. Inflation is going to continue, it looks like. 2, energy definitely is being forced to be under control. They want to make it electrical. Electrical is much easier to control than your gases and your oils are, because you can store those, right? Electrical you can't store unless you have certain batteries, but the lifetime of batteries is very costly, very expensive, and you got a short lifespan on them, maybe 5 years, 7 years, something like that, right? On storing electrical. So they control the energy. Now control the currency. They are considering right now, from what I'm reading in this, a stakeholder interest in Bitcoin. In other words, they buy up all the Bitcoin. They then control the 51%, right? They control the voting and the algorithm. And the Bitcoin then becomes the currency of the people. There was actual talk in this direction during this meeting. Actual considerations. Not so much in those words, but that's what they're saying. Right? And so it's not just my interpretation either. Others also heard the same thing. Other people much more wise than I am. So Bitcoin to me is, they don't feel it as a threat right now to them. They think that their digital currency will take effect, because if they can collapse economies, then people will actually receive it and use it like they're using now, like on welfare. It's the same. They know that they can capitalize on the poor with this digital currency and actually control the poor better. And if they can get the masses that way, then they'll pressure the rest of the people, those middle class people, to use that digital currency as well. And that's going to force out two different currencies, right? So push cryptocurrency then in the black market, which by the way it still is. By the way, it's not in a legal market yet. It's still in that kind of black market area. Push it out even further. In countries that will accept it, some will not accept it. So they're going to see that dividing coming out. But there's consideration right now of them actually buying up, them actually taking control of Bitcoin and using that as a global currency. Tells you one thing, 2 things. 1, Bitcoin is highly recognized. It's not a joke. People think it's a joke. It's not. 2, cryptocurrency and blockchain are not a joke at all. And the world elites are recognizing this. And they even stated that they are focused on using blockchain to carry out their agendas, right? And blockchain doesn't mean cryptocurrencies. It means a centralized blockchain. There's 2 types of blockchains. There's decentralized and centralized. You have to understand that, okay? So I feel that for me, I'm going to buy more Bitcoin. I'm going to buy more Bitcoin, and I'm going to keep writing it down. And then I feel that with all the billionaires in the world, all these elites going to buy Bitcoin going forward, or if they don't buy it and they try to issue the central bank CBDC, right, the digital currency, people aren't going to trust that. We've lost trust in the world today. As Mark Moss, I'm sorry, not Michael Moss, but Mark Moss, as stated in his recent gathering he's had, trust is lost in the financial system. We lost that. We lost trust in our governments for the last 2 years. Last 2 years changed a lot. We just like everything's going through a whole new change right now, and it's chaotic, but there's a lot of opportunities there too. So be focused, be positive, be careful, very, very careful. Only you put your money where you know and feel it's going to actually, it has a foundation to it. It solves a problem in the future, not just sounds good or feels good. DeFi IoT. I'm just giving you our 6 cents on what reports I've been listening to. Please subscribe, help us out with the channel. And if you like this news, because we're bringing the truth, send this to somebody else too. And comment to me. Where do you think we're going to go with this? Where do you think cryptocurrency is going to go? Look, I don't want sarcastic comments. I want true, constructive comments. Criticism if you want to as well, as long as they're constructive, they're meant in a good way. DeFi IoT. We'll see you in the next video. We hope you enjoyed this segment of our video with DeFi IoT. Remember, we're not professional advisors. We do this as a business, as a hobby, and we study, we experiment, and we want to share it with you. If you can get some benefit from this, great. What we do is we go out, we purchase with our own money, and we experiment to see what true results are. We want you to be able to share in our experiences so you don't have to lose like we have.
If you can win where we've won, fantastic. Remember to do your own research and your own homework. It's very important before you make any decisions. We will see you in our next video.